of Ukrainian refugees have had to find new homes in the East Midlands after their hosting arrangements ended. They were given visas after being offered spare rooms with strangers or relatives here. Well, a year on, some sponsors are now helping guests to rent homes of their own. And one Ukrainian refugee is going to start hosting new arrivals herself, as our social affairs correspondent Jeremy Ball reports.
No prizes for spotting Marina's new house in Bingham. A year after Ukraine's invasion, she's finally got a home of her own again. Marina found a job in a local hotel so she could afford to rent with her mother and children after months relying on the kindness of a local family who took them in.
When we arrived first day, she prepared present for kids. She prepared food for kids. It's like angel for Ukrainian. I cry because I just don't understand how it's possible.
So why did you decide to move out and get your own home then?
Because it's very important for my kids. They feel safe, they feel confident, they feel happy, finally. They a little bit forget about war.
Оля, чому ми повинні смажити буряк?
When Ola and her daughters moved into Leah's home in Woollerton, they had to chat through a translation app.
You want cake?
10 months on, they're talking in English. But their hosting arrangements ended too because Leah's moved house.
Dasha?
Yes.
So now Leah's helped Ola to rent this property instead, and she's helped furnish it too.
For this house, buy bed and sofa and chair and table, everything what we have, Leah buy me.
The girls chose to stay in Woollerton because Dasha was starting school at Fernwood and quite settled, and they knew the area. So we had to secure the property by offering 6 months rent up front and personally guarantoring the contract as well. So I would probably say it's cost us about £9,000.
Mostly in our county, the relationship doesn't break.
Christina fled the war too, but now she's going to host new arrivals herself. She's already a refugee support worker, and now, after months staying with a couple near Oakham, Christina's got her own flat.
My hosts helped me a lot to enter the country, to settle down. I want to do the same. Generally, it works out, but we have several families when a relationship didn't work because they have different characters and could not live together anymore. Sometimes it happens.
But back in Nottinghamshire, Marina says her hosts will be friends for life. And now she's hoping to resurrect her career as a filmmaker in a country that already feels like home.
Jeremy's here in the studio. I mean, I guess it's true to say, who would have thought that a year ago today that we would have heard so many stories about here in the East Midlands?
Yeah, I mean, hasn't that generosity been extraordinary, Anne? And, you know, remember, sponsors only gave a 6-month commitment, but most of them have carried on. And to give you one example, I spoke to one woman who actually took her house off the market because she was worried that her 3 Ukrainian guests wouldn't have anywhere to go. It hasn't all been rosy. You hear stories about people falling out over meal times, particularly. One Ukrainian woman told me she actually moved out because her male host was behaving inappropriately. But for the most part, people will say, look, we feel like part of the family now.
And this has been happening on quite a grand scale.
It has, and we can show you the numbers across the region here. 6,400 Ukrainians have arrived so far. That's the latest total from East Midlands councils. And they are still coming, 50 to 100 arrivals a week, they say. Others, though, have already gone home. And our councils say they've actually had to rehouse 250 Ukrainians. Now, these were refugees who ended up homeless after their hosting arrangements ended.
We've seen some, but not to the numbers we actually feared would happen. I think that's largely been due to the amount of work that a range of partners have been doing in terms of making sure those arrangements are able to be maintained. But there's been a lot of work in terms of rematching. So where the hosting arrangements come to an end, there's been work to enable them to be rematched to other hosting arrangements. But importantly, once again, that's down to the altruism, the support and the kindness of all the hosts.
And what do you think will happen to everyone as this war unbelievably goes into its second year?
I think we're starting to see a real shift in attitude now, people making much more long-term plans, which is why some of the women we saw in that report are saying they want to rent a home of their own at the moment. Now, because of that, 14 of our councils, I'm told, have been given government money to buy and to refurbish properties for resettled refugees. It is, though, still the hosts that are at the heart of this. And one big question a year on is how many of those hosts are prepared to continue indefinitely?
I expect to be answering it over the next few weeks. Jeremy, thanks very much indeed for that.